Happy lunchtime, good early afternoon. We are live here at the Blue Plate Special from Wisdom Harbor Studios at the Wharf in Orange Beach, Alabama. I'm Andy Andrews, and I am glad you are here. Very excited. Got a interesting show today. By the way, if you are on Facebook, please click that notification button. If you're on YouTube, please click the subscribe button, and let's just kind of keep up with each other, okay? Hey, the Bass family from North Carolina. Who else? Betty Ayers. Hey, Kim Petrucki from Oregon. Hope you're safe out there. And the Proctors from Arlington, Texas. Nadine Sanders Roberts. Hey, Andy. Hey, Nadine. Let's see. Who's that? Back that up. I want to see that. Wait. Okay. Hagen Mac. Woo-wee to you, too. Are you really from Smoky Dry, Colorado? That just sounds like way too cool a name. Smoky Dry, Colorado. And the Taylors, good morning to you. Is it morning wherever you guys are? Yep, everything is great in Orange Beach, Chet. And I'm excited. I can't wait for you to get your copy of Just Jones as well. I was having a conversation with somebody earlier about that today. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. My shirt today feels very good. My shirt is from Sand Dollar Lifestyles right up here in the corner of the wharf. And you know what? I decided, I asked Matt earlier, I said, Matt, take a picture of the back of the shirt, because I don't know if it's my age or something, but it does drive me nuts that all the T-shirts now are built for the back. People see the back of it, and I want to see the front. I don't. So, but everything has. And so if I said, okay, this is from Sand Dollar Lifestyles, and they're so generous to allow me to wear their shirts on the show. And so I want you to see the shirt. So, Matt, show them the back of the shirt. You got it? Isn't that beautiful? So I'm just letting you know. And if I can remember that, and if Matt can remind me so that I can remember, we'll take a picture of the back of it every day, because there's not much on the front, okay? I'm excited to be with you guys. Today I want to answer some questions if you have them. If you have any questions, I'm going to answer. But I also want to kind of tell you something that's been going on. Hey, Brennan. I am always kind of in a period of research. There's the old man, Kevin Perkins, Gene McDonald. Hey, Kevin, that turkey call that I saw that Austin had that you made is absolutely gorgeous. So just letting you know. Kevin's First Light Outdoors, and he makes custom turkey calls. So firstlightoutdoors.com to you and me. But I'm always in a period of research, and so I'm either researching something specifically that I'm working on, or I'm kind of just all over. And so one of the things that I'm reading right now, I'm listening to it, but reading it, it doesn't matter, is The Allies by Winston Groom. Now, I'm sure most of you, if you recognize Winston Groom's name, you know this is the guy who wrote Forrest Gump. But he wrote a ton of stuff. He has written and continues to write a ton of stuff that is history. He's got the Allies, the generals. It's just a bunch of really, really good stuff. Hey, Bob Woodall. And David Briley, how are you doing? And Pam Tucker, all the way from Fairhope. I'm going to read you a Fairhope thing in just a second, Pam. So anyway, I'm listening to this thing with the Allies, and I'm getting some ideas of some stuff that I need to research, some stuff that I didn't know. It's a lot of it is focused in on Churchill, on Roosevelt, and Stalin, who, as you know, met in Potsdam, Germany, and it is all about a crazy time, but it kind of details the beginnings of each of their three lives. And again, there's always something that I don't know. When I read somebody else's research, in this case, Winston's, I'm always just amazed. How did I miss this? How did I not see this? And so, you know what I'm talking about, George Coster, because we've spent a lot of time together, and you know that it drives me nuts to miss something that I'm supposed to. I can't believe I didn't notice. And so I've gone back and started researching some stuff about Winston Churchill. And when you come here to visit us, we'll let you know when the outside area of the Wisdom Harbor Studio is open. But when you come to visit us, one of the things that you'll see is kind of a little Churchill thing we have over here. I have 2 of Winston Churchill's whiskey decanters, and a story I'll tell you sometime, not today, but I'll tell you sometime a story of the whiskey that he drank in that. And I'm looking at him, though, and you talk about somebody who would not take no for an answer. Hey, Mark Lowry. Mark Lowry's another one who won't take no for an answer. He still won't. But Churchill would not take no for an answer. But it's not enough just to not take no. It's more important to think down the pathway of where do you go from here. Because a lot of people can not take no for an answer, and then they're kind of stuck there where the fence was built, no. And so they just kind of camp out there. But there's a functionality of getting beyond that no, or around that no, or under it, or some way that is very curious to me. And he did that is probably better than anybody I've ever read about in history. And he had a lot of people that did not like what he did, as he was doing it. But then, holy cow, he got so many results. I mean, there was one point, this was well before World War II, and, he's out living on his country farm, and he's not got any connection with the government except that he's writing, and he's gotten famous now, and people are listening to him, and they're reading what he writes in the newspapers, and one of the things that he says is right after this war in South Africa with the Boers, the farmers in South Africa, and Britain still owns South Africa, and so they're rising up, and so, but Churchill says something about the Boers, that their soldiers are worth 2 or 3 of Britain's soldiers, and that it's going to take X number of years, and it's going to take such and such to if we're going to win this. And people just went nuts. It's like, how disrespectful. But then the statistics after the war had ended, it showed that it did take this many troops of Britain working against this many from the Boers, and took this long. I mean, he was exactly right. And then there's the time when he's out on his country estate and not doing anything but writing newspaper articles and writing a book and painting, and he says, he says that Germany's rearming, and there's going to be a war, that these guys are, they're ramping up, and this Hitler guy, he's nuts, and he's ramping up, and then he said something that not only scared people, it made them mad. He said that they're going to bomb London, and there are going to be parts of the city destroyed, and they'll kill upwards of 40,000 people. And people were just like, shut up. What are you doing? And so it's not only were they kind of scared, people got mad. And of course, that's exactly what happened. So it's curious for us to look back, but it's also curious to me to figure out the thinking involved. How do you think to the bottom of the pool on something? How do you go with what is accepted? What is it that people believe that it may be true but not the truth? And as I was reading some of this and researching some of this about Churchill, it reminded me of something that I had thought through very carefully and written. Now, you guys know there's the noticer, and then there was the noticer returns, such an imaginative name for the sequel. But on the noticer returns, it reminded me of a part that I'd written just explaining something, or Jones is explaining something that we all kind of believe and think, and then he explains that it's not like that. And I really believe, I had a prospective client not too long ago that asked me, as we were talking about whether we were going to work together, he called and he said, "Hey, I got a question." And I said, "Okay." He said, "You're kind of known for thinking differently and doing something different. And what if you suggest we do something and we don't want to do it?" I'd never been asked that question before, but I said, "Hey, that's a good question." And it's a pretty easy bottom line for me. The bottom line is you're the CEO, it's your company, and if you don't do it, you're the boss, don't do it. What am I going to say to that? I said, however, I have worked with people and companies long enough that I have learned to really think through something before I would present it to you. And I said, if I ever present anything to you that I cannot explain to you why this will work, then you shouldn't do it. I said, so my commitment to you is not just to give you an idea and say, "Hey, try this," or then try this. I said, that's not my commitment to you. My commitment to you is not to give you ideas and then let's just kind of see if it'll work, or this is how you do this. This is how you can do this. I said, because there's tons of people who know how to do something. I said, we're going to get down to the bottom of the pool before we implement something, and you will know why this will work. And so my place is to be able to understand it well enough to explain it to you in such a way that it makes total sense and then changes how you think so that you can change the thinking of your customers or your clients or your employees. But that's proof. That's the difference in motivation and proof. That's the difference in encouragement and proof. People, I think encouragement's fine. I just think proof is better. Encouragement requires, maybe a tone in your voice. It requires consistency. But we all know there's a statute of limitations to encouragement. I could encourage you, and it's going to last at least until the first crazy thing that happens in your life. I could encourage you, and it will last until your group goes home and disperses and gets rid of that, Kool-Aid you all drank together or whatever it was. But so encouragement doesn't necessarily last, but proof lasts. Now, I'm not talking about a mathematical proof. I'm talking about the kind of proof that is like proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The kind of proof where you hear something you hadn't heard, or you see something you hadn't seen in a way that you hadn't seen it, and you go, I never thought of that. Well, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? I don't guess I'll ever think of it any other way again. See, at that point, it doesn't matter what tone of voice that was delivered to you in. It doesn't matter the setting you were in. It could have been written down. It could have, it could have been in a single sentence. It could have been in a paragraph. It could be on an audiobook. It could be you and, the lady sitting there talking. I don't know. But when proof hits you, it changes you. It has changed your understanding. And something that is necessary for proof is the truth. They have to align, right? Because if at any time you begin to suspect that what you believe is not the truth, then it's no longer proof, right? And so this is why we go to the bottom of something, the foundation of something, the bottom of the pool. This is why we continue to seek a deeper understanding of principle. We've talked about that before, about how what is wisdom? It's a deeper understanding of principle. Not a deep understanding, a deeper. Okay, a deep understanding of principle, that's a target you could hit and just stay there. Okay, but wisdom requires constant change. And so if you're wanting to gain wisdom, then what you're after is a deeper understanding of principle, which means that when you get there, when you have a deeper understanding of principle, where do you go from there? Deeper, I guess. All right. So it's a constant and never-ending improvement, a constant and never-ending game, a game of change, where you're seeking a better understanding, a better explanation to help people understand something more so that their lives can change, whether those people are your employees, your coworkers, your children, your family, whatever. So here's an example that I remembered. And so this is a bunch of us, Pam, in Fairhope or Point Clear. We're actually out on the pier at the Grand Hotel. And it's a bunch of parents. And Jones is talking to us about the standards. What is the gold standard? What is the standards by which we raise our children, by which we work with our families? What standard are we? And so he has us write down a list of the things that we want our children to be or have, or when they grow up. So we come up with a list of 20 things. So, they're like to be divinely guided. I'll tell you what they are: to be divinely guided, to possess great wisdom, understanding, and common sense, to have a grateful spirit, to have a joyful spirit, to be financially astute, to be responsible, to be a person of good morals, to be loyal, to have a great and abiding faith, to have good manners, to be humble, to be hardworking, to be confident, to be honest, to be healthy and physically fit, to have great friends, to have respect for authority, to have a servant's heart, to be a creative thinker, to accept the role of a leader, effectively demonstrating and guiding others to the results listed above. And so here's where it got very interesting. There's a couple of pages here. I want to read you. Jones waited for us to finish writing and said, "Any questions? Before we move forward, examine them closely. Remember, if one intends to create an agreed-upon standard by which children should be raised, the end result you're after must be thoroughly explored. Only the end result you desire will reveal what is done in the present, a standard operating procedure, in order to reach that specific result in the future." The old man waited as we examined the list. After a time, he instructed us to look at number 7, which we did. There were no comments at all, prompting Jones to remark, "To be a person of good morals is a bit ambiguous, don't you believe?" "I believe we need to be more specific. There are results you can place on this list that will cover morals more efficiently than the actual word. In addition, they encompass much firmer ground than mere good morals could ever hope to accomplish as a target." Jones was patient, but when he saw that our tiny group was not closing in on the answer, he gave it to us. "Why don't we try integrity and character?" he asked, "and list them separately." Looking up from his notes, Bart asked, "Separately? Aren't integrity and character virtually the same things?" "What do you think?" Jones asked us. "Integrity and character, are they really different words for the same thing?" After a bit of hesitation, looking to each other for support, we agreed. Were integrity and character the same? Yes, they were, practically identical. I had already begun to erase integrity from my list when Jones said, "No, neither is the same. Both words have entirely different meanings. In order for you to adequately instill integrity and character, it would behoove each of you to know exactly what that difference is." I was used to this kind of thing with Jones. I had seen him excavate hearts and minds that few had ever been able to reach. The old man could dig deep, rooting out the garbage of misconceptions or flat-out bad thinking, and do it faster than most folks recognized it being done. That's what he did, every day and all the time. I remember once when a lady asked Jones what kind of work he did, he told her he was an inclinational archaeologist. When she asked what that was, he said he specialized in the excavation of thoughts by which living subjects were inclined to do great things. She had no clue what he meant, of course, but I did. Jones' conversations were designed to reveal a pattern of decisions that eventually unearthed one's very thinking. Polly looked at me for reassurance. "All good?" she wanted to know. I gave her a little smile and nod. As I looked at the faces of the others, I could see they were concentrating intently. Bart had his arms crossed, but not in a closed-off way. His expression was one of interest and expectation, as if he were enjoying a mystery on television. "Integrity. To have integrity," Jones began, "is to be trustworthy and reliable, capable of performing the task for which it was created. A bank can have integrity. A bridge or a fire escape can have integrity. A person can have integrity too. That person is trustworthy, reliable, and capable of performing the tasks for which he was created. He is capable of performing those tasks. Morality is different. Morality can be exhibited by a person who is not doing what is wrong." Jones paused to be sure we were following closely. "A moral person does not lie or steal, but a person can be moral by doing nothing. One can stay in bed all day and remain moral." "Now," Jones said, scooting closer to us, "while morality is not doing what is wrong, character is actively doing what is right. For instance, a person who sees a wrong being done but does not participate in that activity is still a moral person. He did nothing wrong. But to speak up rather than turn away from an injustice requires character. Therefore, without the spine to do what is right, it is possible to be a moral person with weak character. This, of course, leads us to the logical conclusion that a person without morals cannot be a person of character. Why? For the simple reason that it is impossible to do what is right while doing what is wrong. Therefore, it stands that a person who cheats at golf or on a spouse, a person who misleads or steals, cannot be a person of character. Is character important as a quality for your child to develop? Yes, if you want the best for your child. Yes, if you expect the other results on your list to manifest themselves to the highest levels. You see, my friends, true character is that rare quality able to raise mere mortal man from ordinary circumstance to greatness. A person of integrity, trustworthy and reliable, is prepared and capable of performing the task for which he was created, but it takes character to speak up, step out, and perform that task. Jones. Amazing. You know, the new book, Just Jones, the subtitle is Sometimes a Thing Seems Impossible Until It Is Actually Done. That new book has a bunch of cool places in it that I am excited about you reading. And it's a pretty day here in Orange Beach, and so I'm always keeping an eye out for the white hair in this little old guy. And if you have any questions, I'll answer questions for a couple of minutes. But I know this is kind of short today, but it's just a message that I wanted to bring to you, something that I was just thinking about how we do want to consider what we know and how we might change. Yeah, because it's Jones who said, remember, you can't believe everything you think. I didn't understand that at first, but I think I understand it now. You can't believe everything you think. We don't want to get stuck on what we think. Have you ever known something? I mean, you knew it, and you could argue it, and you could win the argument. And then you found out a couple months later or a year later, ooh, that wasn't exactly correct. You ever found out that your information was not totally complete? Of course, we've all done that. Okay, so if you've ever found out that something you believed was not entirely correct, does the possibility exist that something you think now might not be entirely correct? And you go, well, Andy, of course, something that I think might not be right. Okay, I agree. But we don't really know what that is, do we? Or we don't know how many subjects that may cover in our lives. And so that's why Jones says, be careful. You don't believe everything you think. Test what you think. Because, and I'll tell you, I'll see if I can paraphrase something that is in the new book that he said. This is in Just Jones. But he talks about wisdom requires change. And he says that you want to examine what you think, and you examine these rules that you set for your life and for your business and for your family. You examine, how you're living right now. He said, because the rules that you have created with which you live your life, that's the case, and that's the case, the things that you believe, these rules that you set. He said you implemented these rules according to what you knew at the time. You implemented these things in your life according to what you knew at the time. And now you know more. Time has passed. You have had the benefit of watching. You've dug more. You understand more. There's more. There was a man, he said, that's right, wisdom requires change. And he said, so it's a constant process to review your thinking. You can't believe everything you think. You want to review your thinking because of those rules that you set. And he said, you want to understand that do not cross the street without holding someone's hand is a perfect rule for a period of time in a person's life. But only for a certain time, because there comes a time that wisdom should render that rule obsolete. But if you're living with those old rules, you're not getting the most out of life. You're not creating the most. You're not getting the best results. And that's a paraphrase. He said it much better in the book. But Mike Williams asked what the best biography I've read is. Man, I don't know if I could narrow that down, because I've read a ton of them, and you know, I think I've read so many different biographies now on, like I've read so many different biographies on Churchill, and so many different biographies on George Washington Carver, and so many different ones on Chamberlain, that I tend to have like favorite people, you know, and I just named 3 of my favorites right there. Those people have been examined, and there's still stuff that I'm curious about those people, because there are some things that biographers mention, and yet these things are mentioned in a way that, yeah, that's kind of what they did, and nobody really knows why. And it's like the 3rd or 4th biography of George Washington Carver before I understood why he got up so early every day, because, you know, other biographies would just say that he did, and that's where, you know, the facts are one thing, but we need an understanding of the facts to be able to apply them to our lives, and so he was asked. I read this as a quote. He was asked why he got up so early every day, and he said that he got up early every day to get his marching orders for the day. That he would get up early and go outside before the birds were awake and ask, you know, what am I supposed to pay attention to today? What am I supposed to work on today? And it's very curious to me, because Carver, if you read about George Washington Carver, that's one person that I do not understand how one person could accomplish that much in one lifetime. I mean, I don't even get it. It's not even close. And so, you know, with his explanation of why he got up earlier, you get an explanation, I suppose, of how he accomplished that much. So, thank you guys. I appreciate so much you being here. We've got some surprises coming up over the next few weeks. The book's out September 8th, and I'm very excited that you have it. I really am interested in hearing what you think and hearing your takes on some of the stuff, because that helps my understanding of it. And I think that's it. Okay. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Not sure what days next week, but it'll be a couple of days next week, and we will see you then. Bye-bye.